Flock Nation, things are getting rough in Baltimore. The season started in the worst possible way. Losses piling up, injuries everywhere, and a defense that suddenly forgot how to play football. But right in the middle of all this chaos, one piece of news dropped that could flip everything upside down. A trade with the Miami Dolphins that might not only save the Ravens season, but maybe even John Harbaugh's job. Think about it. A risky move, big names involved, and a chance to turn the team's darkest moment into a brand new start. But is this really the missing piece that can wake up the defense? Or is it Harbaugh's last shot to prove he can still lead this team? Because if this doesn't work, things could fall apart fast. The Ravens season has turned into pure drama. A team that came in expecting to fight for the top of the AFC is now buried at 1-4, full of mistakes, injuries, and frustration. The defense, once the pride of Baltimore, has completely fallen apart. The secondary can't cover anyone. The pass rush has lost its bite, and that old Ravens swagger? It's nowhere to be found. In the middle of all this, John Harbaugh is living one of the toughest moments of his entire career. After so many years running this team, he knows patience has limits, and every loss now lands squarely on him. There's a real sense of urgency. It's not just about fixing schemes or play calls anymore. It's about restoring this team's identity before everything slips away. Injuries have only made things worse. Key players are missing, and that's left Baltimore vulnerable in a division that, even in a down year, won't forgive mistakes. Every game now feels like a fight for survival. Harbaugh needs to find a way to light that spark inside the locker room, and do it fast, if he wants to stay in control of this team's future. But in the middle of all that pressure, there's still a glimmer of hope, and it starts with what the front office is doing off the field. Baltimore knows they can't sit still. They have to act and act now. That's when the big move comes in, a trade that could completely change the direction of this defense, and maybe even the outcome of the entire season. With the team sinking, the front office finally decided to move. Baltimore went out and got safety Alohi Gilman from the Chargers, trying to bring some stability back to a struggling secondary. Gilman arrives with one mission: bring leadership and aggression to a group that's lost its confidence. But to make it happen, the Ravens had to part ways with former first-round pick Odafe Oweh, a move that shocked a lot of people. Oweh was supposed to be part of the team's future, a player they believed in from day one. That decision, though, shows just how desperate things have gotten. Baltimore realized waiting for things to fix themselves wasn't an option anymore. The message was clear. Either the team fights back now, or this season's going down the drain. But that choice created a new problem. With Oweh gone, the pass rush is thinner than ever, and that's the one thing this defense couldn't afford to lose. That's why this next trade matters even more. Adding Gilman helps. But it also highlights how badly this team needs someone who can bring fire and disruption back to the defensive line. Someone who can make a game-changing play when everything's on the line. So now, the Ravens are out hunting for that player who can restore balance and energy to this defense. And that's where one name starts to stand out. A young, talented player ready for a fresh start. Someone who might just be the spark that brings the Ravens defense back to life and reminds everyone why this team was feared in the first place. Jaylon Phillips could be that guy. The Dolphins' pass rusher hasn't really exploded this season, but let's be real, Miami's a mess right now. The team's crumbling. The coaching staff looks checked out, and Phillips has become another victim of a system with no direction. But in Baltimore, everything changes. He'd walk into a defense that needs his energy, his hunger, and his ability to take over a game. Phillips checks every box the Ravens are looking for: young, explosive, and loaded with raw talent. He's athletic, powerful, and smart, the exact kind of player John Harbaugh loves to develop. In Miami, he looked lost. In Baltimore, he'd have a clear purpose: to become the motor of this pass rush and bring back the pressure that Oweh never truly delivered. And timing might be on Baltimore's side. Miami could be headed into a rebuild, which opens the door for a real deal to happen. Phillips would be a risky move, sure, but also one that could completely turn this team around. And with the Ravens desperate for someone who can make a difference, this kind of gamble might be exactly what saves their season. Baltimore needs a jolt, and Phillips could be that spark. If the front office pulls this off, it wouldn't just fix one of their biggest weaknesses. It would send a loud message. The Ravens aren't giving up. Not yet.
All right, we're already past the halfway point of this video, but before we continue, I noticed you haven't left a like yet. It's really important because it helps YouTube keep showing you my content so I can keep bringing you the best news about the Baltimore Ravens. So go ahead and hit that like button. It's free and it really helps. Thanks. Now let's get back to it.
The craziest part of all this? The AFC North is still wide open. The Steelers might be leading, but nobody's scared of that offense. The Bengals look lost without Joe Burrow again, and the Browns are rolling with a rookie quarterback. It's a shaky, unpredictable division, and that's exactly the kind of setup where a team like Baltimore can rise from the ashes. If Jalen Phillips ends up in purple and black, it could be the turning point. He'd instantly become a leader on that front seven, someone with the size, mentality, and burst to change the tempo of every game. And even beyond his play, a move like that brings life back into the locker room. It restores confidence and gives the team something to believe in again. The Ravens have always built their identity around great defenses, and Phillips fits that tradition perfectly. Under Harbaugh's leadership and with the right coaching around him, he could grow fast and become one of the cornerstones of this new chapter. It's the kind of move that can flip the mood inside the building, from frustration to hope, from disappointment to revival. But make no mistake, all of this means more than just adding talent. Because at this point, John Harbaugh's future is tied directly to whether this move works or not. Harbaugh knows this might be his last real chance to prove he's still the right man for the job. He's been through tough seasons before, but this one feels different. The pressure is heavier, and the margin for error is gone. If the Phillips trade happens, it'll be his biggest test. The move that decides whether the Ravens fight their way back or collapse completely. Phillips wouldn't just be another addition to the roster. He'd represent belief, proof that Harbaugh still trusts his system, still believes in his players, and still has the fire to push this team forward. His arrival could spark something inside that locker room that's been missing for weeks. Energy, emotion, unity. And that might be all it takes to flip the season. But if it doesn't work, it's hard to picture Harbaugh still leading this team in 2026. After so many years at the helm, he knows how this league works. Wins keep you safe, losses end eras. And right now, his era in Baltimore is on the edge. Still, as long as there's a chance, he's not backing down. And this trade with the Dolphins might just be the push Baltimore needs. The move that reignites the fire, brings this team back to life, and maybe, just maybe, saves the legacy of one of the NFL's most respected coaches. In the end, it all comes down to one question. Will this Dolphins trade really change the Ravens' fate? The arrival of Jalen Phillips could light up the defense, restore the team's confidence, and maybe even save John Harbaugh's job. Or it could be the final breath of a team fighting to stay alive. What happens next will define Baltimore's future, and the legacy of a coach who built an era but now stands at the edge, needing one last win to prove he still belongs. So, what do you think? Is this trade the spark that turns it all around, or the last chapter of a story that's about to end?
And if you, just like me, are passionate about the world of football and want to learn more about the Ravens' legacy, don't leave this video without sharing it with that friend who is also a Baltimore Ravens fan and will love this content. See those video suggestions on your screen? The first one was handpicked just for you, and the other is a recommendation from YouTube itself.